The rain poured steadily, drenching the quiet streets of the small town. Emily Parker pulled her thin coat tighter around herself as she hurried down the road, her shoes squelching with every step. She was a teacher at the local elementary school, barely making ends meet. Her tiny apartment had a leaky roof, the heating barely worked, and most nights she went to bed hungry after making sure her meager groceries stretched through the week. It wasn't always like this. Emily used to have dreams, big ones. She wanted to travel, to write, to change lives. But those dreams had been overshadowed by reality. Her salary was barely enough to survive, and with no family to rely on, she had learned to live with constant struggle. That evening, she was heading to the grocery store, counting the crumpled bills in her pocket. She needed bread and milk, but she knew she could only afford one. She sighed, not realizing that her life was about to take an unexpected turn. Across town, Alexander Hayes sat in his sleek black car, staring out at the rain. The millionaire businessman had everything: wealth, success, and power. Yet, his life felt incomplete. His wife had passed away years ago, leaving him alone to raise their twin sons, Lucas and Liam. Despite his resources, he found it hard to connect with them. They needed a mother's touch, and he had failed to give them the warmth they deserved. The twins' nanny had just quit, leaving Alexander in a bind. He needed someone who could take care of them, guide them, and love them as their mother would. But he wasn't looking for just any caregiver. He wanted someone genuine, kind, and grounded, someone who could teach his boys the value of love over money. As fate would have it, their worlds collided that night. Emily was standing under the awning of the grocery store, deciding which item to buy, when a small boy bumped into her, nearly slipping on the wet floor. She quickly caught him before he fell. "Careful there," she said gently, kneeling to meet his wide-eyed gaze. "Where's your parent?" Before the boy could answer, another small figure ran in, his twin. Moments later, a tall man in a tailored suit appeared, scanning the store until his eyes landed on them. "There you are," Alexander said, his voice deep but filled with relief. He looked at Emily and offered a polite nod. "Thank you for catching him." "It's no problem," Emily replied, brushing off her wet coat. She gave the boys a reassuring smile. "They're sweet." Alexander noticed the warmth in her tone, the natural way she spoke to his sons. He had seen countless nannies, teachers, and caregivers, but something about her felt different. They exchanged a few polite words before parting ways, but Alexander couldn't get her out of his mind. Later that week, he saw her again, this time at the school, helping a group of children with their reading. She had no idea he was watching from the hallway. After learning more about her from the principal, Alexander made a bold decision. That evening, he invited her to meet him at a small cafe. Emily almost didn't go, thinking it was a mistake, but curiosity got the better of her. When she arrived, he got straight to the point. "Miss Parker, I have a proposal for you," he began, his expression unreadable. She raised an eyebrow, unsure what to expect. "A proposal?" "Yes," he said firmly. "I need a mother for my sons, and you need a home. I'm offering you a marriage. Not for love, at least not at first, but for the sake of the boys. In return, you'll have financial security, a home, and the chance to truly change their lives." Emily stared at him, stunned. It sounded absurd, like something out of a movie. "You don't even know me," she said quietly. "I know enough," he replied. "I've seen the way you are with children, the patience you have, the kindness in your voice. You're exactly the type of person they need." Her mind raced. She thought about her crumbling apartment, her empty fridge, and her constant exhaustion. But she also thought about how strange it would be to marry a man she barely knew. I don't know," she said hesitantly. Alexander leaned forward. "You can think about it. But know this isn't just for me. It's for them. My sons need someone who will love them like their own mother." Over the next week, Emily couldn't stop thinking about the offer. She saw Lucas and Liam at school, their laughter bright but their eyes holding a hint of sadness. She thought about what she could do for them, the stability she could provide. And maybe, just maybe, she could find a sense of belonging for herself. Finally, she agreed. The wedding was a small, private affair. Emily wore a simple white dress, her hair in loose waves. Alexander stood beside her, his expression calm but unreadable. There was no romantic kiss at the altar, just a solemn promise to care for the children and support each other. At first, life in the Hayes mansion felt strange. Emily had her own large bedroom, separate from Alexander's, and the house staff treated her with quiet respect. She spent most of her time with the twins, helping them with homework, baking cookies, reading bedtime stories. Slowly, they began to open up to her, calling her Mom without hesitation. Alexander watched this transformation from a distance. He saw how his sons smiled more, how their laughter filled the halls. He also noticed Emily, her gentle patience, her quick wit, the way her eyes sparkled when she laughed. He found himself drawn to her, though he kept his feelings guarded. One evening, after the boys had gone to bed, Alexander found Emily in the kitchen, washing dishes. He offered to help, and they worked side by side in comfortable silence. Then, without thinking, he asked, "Are you happy here?" Emily looked at him, surprised by the question. "I am," she said softly. "More than I expected to be." Something shifted between them that night. The quiet partnership they shared began to grow into something deeper. Alexander found himself seeking her company, sharing pieces of his past, even laughing more than he had in years. Months passed, and their bond grew stronger. One rainy evening, much like the night they met, Alexander stood by the fireplace with Emily beside him. The boys were asleep upstairs. He turned to her, his voice low but certain. "When I asked you to marry me, I said it wasn't for love," he said. "But somewhere along the way, I fell in love with you, Emily." Her heart pounded in her chest. "Alexander, I don't want this to be just an arrangement anymore. I want it to be real." Tears welled in her eyes as she smiled. "It already is." He cupped her face in his hands and kissed her, sealing the promise they never knew they'd find in each other. The millionaire had given her a home, but she had given him something far greater, a family filled with love, and this time, it wasn't part of the deal.